So, my friends, welcome to a new crypto update video. Bitcoin at 116,700 US dollars. Not much change in the last few days. That's why there was no update video yesterday. So let's take another look at the charts. What might be coming up today? How are the altcoins looking at the moment? Spoiler, we still don't have an altcoin season, and right now it doesn't really look good for one either. Of course, we're also going to break down Bitcoin completely. We'll take a look at the traditional markets, see what's important for styles, and of course also take a quick look at the DEX, since there could be some new possible setups there as well. But before we get started, feel free to leave a like on the video. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and of course feel free to join the free Telegram talk and signal group. If you're interested in updates, news, and signals, you're more than welcome to join. You'll find the link for that for free down in the video description. And if you're still looking for an exchange where you can trade everything we talk about here, feel free to sign up with my partner exchange, Binks. The link for that is also down in the video description, and by using it you support the channel, or rather, you support me. So, Bitcoin is at $106,700. Like I said, very little has happened in the last few days. Let's take a quick look back. We're going to look at the last daily close, or rather, the one before that. We said last week that a daily close above $108,800, or rather $109,000, was a must. Yeah, you can see for yourself. Yesterday, once again, we only reached these highs, grabbed those 2 bits of liquidity, but didn't close above them. Let's look at the weekly close. Basically, it's the same story here as well. We had a weekly close below that $109,000 mark, so again, not exactly what I wanted in order to build up that bullish bias, so to speak. And that's how we started the week. We immediately dipped above last week's high again, and now we're seeing the first small bearish reaction here. So, still no real bullish alternative as long as we just don't get a higher high, and it doesn't matter how we do it. Of course, we also have this trend line here. That's another factor, and we've been rejected there again for now. As long as we don't get above that, we're still moving in a bearish direction, or rather, in a longer-term consolidation phase, like the one we already had last summer. And right now, things are looking pretty similar. You might remember how exhausting that was. Let's take a quick look at the weekly view again. You might still remember how exhausting that was, and the structure here is pretty similar. Again, we keep seeing these multiple wicks to the upside, but we never got a higher high. Then there was that last relentless dip down, and after that, we saw this bullish, well, pump, I'd say, around mid to late August. That's how things played out last year in August, or rather over the summer, and we're seeing a similar structure again right now. So, if you're still very bullish here, the conditions aren't actually that bad, especially if you just look at last year as a reference. Alright. So, what does it look like in the short term now? For me personally, in the short term, a long option is still this area down here between 103,500 and around 101,600 US dollars. That's the 0.5 or rather the golden pocket from this last pump. That would be a small long option, with a tendency that this week could be bullish if, and now we can take a quick look at the news situation today. Powell is speaking again at 3:30 p.m. Possible interest rate cuts are becoming more and more likely, maybe even in July, but that's kind of a 50-50 thing, even though the FOMC is currently saying no, but the pressure is mounting. I'll just put it that way. Then in the afternoon, there aren't really any other bullish news. Then Trump's beautiful big bill could possibly get passed this week, in the Senate, or actually I think in the House of Representatives, if I'm not mistaken, but anyway. Feel free to correct me if I'm wrong. In any case, that's still on the agenda for this week. And yeah, as I said, possible interest rate cuts that could come very suddenly. But, as I said, we could then see a decision down here in this area. So that's the long scenario, with the option that we could break through this resistance up here. If that goes wrong, as I said, I still assume that we'll drop down even lower here, into this area, let's say, around 95,000 US dollars, because we still have that inefficiency down below. 95,000 US dollars. The bearish scenario, however, would completely destroy the structure if we compare it to last year in August. That means, if that happens, the alternative, which we've already discussed several times in the live stream, would be that we drop down again, make a lower low, and then possibly start the final phase of the bull run. Those are the two alternatives we absolutely need to pay attention to right now. As I said, long option 1 would be here, and long option 2 for me would be down here. We need to keep an eye on that. How does Bitcoin react there? Does everything fit together? The funding rates, if we look at them, have gone up a bit again. Compared to last week, when we were completely in the negative, they're now back to normal levels. So I wouldn't say they're high right now, because this is really just normal levels at the moment. Really, no need to worry. And if we look at the heat map, here too, yes, the view downward on a 3-day basis, okay, downward, and a bit upward as well. Let's take a quick look at the weekly case. Here too, it fits very well again with these 103,500 US dollars. Of course, there's also liquidity to the upside again, but that's exactly the same liquidity that was lying around here a week ago. So, these are the most important steps we should be paying attention to with Bitcoin at the moment. Feel free to share your opinion in the comments below. Are you currently bullish or bearish? How do you see Bitcoin right now? Go ahead and write it down below. Then let's move on to the altcoins. Ethereum. Yesterday, it failed again at the 200 SMA here. On the 4-hour time frame, it's not really bullish either. We had this V-shaped recovery here. Okay, that's all well and good. We already talked about it last week. This resistance up here should actually be broken for us to turn fully bullish. Yeah, that didn't happen. We got rejected here again. So, same story here as with Bitcoin. At the moment, a pullback would definitely be possible here, down to the area. Let me just quickly move this over to the golden pocket area or the 0.5 Fibonacci retracement level, which means between 2317 and 2255, there would be a small long opportunity. Same story as pretty much everywhere, also with Solana, or actually, Solana even has our, or who. I don't know who among you got in, maybe picked up the long area down here. That was our plan last week, right here at the 0.5. That's exactly where we ended up going, so it might have been too close for many people, myself included. But I basically took a siesta over the weekend anyway, closed the inefficiency at 0.5, and now the pump came, of course, also because of the news that a Solana ETF might possibly be ready before trading starts today. So there were rumors, and that's why we saw this pump, at least for now, with the volume yesterday, but also here. So far, we've only picked up the volume up here, or rather these wicks up here. Let's see how it holds up now. Can it hold the 200 SMA here? If so, all is well, and then the trend can of course continue, and we could definitely see prices go up to 180 US dollars. That's definitely back within the realm of possibility for Solana. At least in the short term, if, as I said, the ETFs really do get going here. Otherwise, the bullish trend channel still fits just as we drew it. And since that shifted a bit, so now, bullish trend channel, now a breakout. If it holds and shoots up with more volume, that's definitely bullish. Of course, with Solana, if Bitcoin were to crash down now, that would obviously drag Solana down significantly as well. Let's move over to gold. Gold is slowly but surely recovering again. So here too, nice accumulation on the way down. No dramatic, rapid sell-off, just a mild sell-off, as always when volume drops. All well and good, but now we have to do just as we discussed last week. So you can see for yourselves, in the end, not much has really happened. Now we need to get back above our downtrend here, which means the 3,335 mark. If we get above that and can hold it, it's bullish again and we can set our sights on the target of 3,500 US dollars. In my opinion, the same goes for the euro. I've now opened a small short position on the euro, but as you can see, there's still plenty of buffer. At least for now, to the upside. Let's see how this develops now. So, as I said, I still possibly see the 1.20 level, but I wanted to start positioning myself slightly short here. You don't have to copy me now. These are just my reasons. Possibly, as I said, Trump's calculations. A possible rate cut that could be priced in. Those are just my points. Then, declining volume. Slowly but surely, bearish divergence. Those are the points that could make me, start to shift my view a bit right now. Or rather, could also make me shift my view on the euro chart. Because we're now slowly getting into areas where, okay, maybe at most up here. I could still see the 1.21 level now. There's still a decent move up possible here, but first we have to get through the 1.19 area. That's why I'm slowly building up a short position here. The stop loss is very, very high up, as you can see. Otherwise, the traditional markets, What's the DAX doing? DAX, I hope for everyone. I already wrote that in the Telegram group yesterday. I hope at least one of you went short. Up here in this area, then. That was the area we talked about last Friday. I would have liked the red box. Well, if you got in, set your stop loss to entry and maybe even take profit one. Definitely do that. In my opinion, since I didn't get in, as I said, I took a complete break over the weekend. If we come up here again, test this high once more, or even reach the area around 24,200 US dollars, I still think it will go down and would probably position myself short here again. So that would be a second entry or a second entry opportunity for everyone who hasn't gotten in yet, including myself. Nasdaq is still at an all-time high, but to me it still doesn't really look super bullish. S&P 500, same story here as well. A new all-time high. For now it has just tested this resistance to the upside. Let's see. As I said, I'm still not really convinced that this is actually sustainable. So now the next resistance here is around 6,237 points, which could still be reached. At the moment, as I said, I would still hold back on shorts here, but sooner or later my tendency is just that it's going to crash down at some point. But you all know that already. Otherwise, I'd say that's it from my side. I wish you all a nice and relaxing day. Today, or generally this week, there will only be an update video early in the day, but otherwise Thursday is the usual live stream, so you can already look forward to that. And otherwise, I'd say that's it from my side. Thanks for watching, leave a like, subscribe, join the Telegram group, and then we'll hear from each other again, I'd say, tomorrow morning. Until then, ciao ciao, and as always, stay crypto.